A strange silence filled the night inside Earth's largest listening station. Screens glowed in the dark, and rows of scientists leaned forward, their eyes fixed on one signal that refused to vanish. It was not from any star they had charted before. It pulsed like a heartbeat, slow, steady, almost desperate. "Is it interference?" one young technician asked, his voice tight with fear. The chief scientist, an older man with grey hair and tired eyes, shook his head. "No, this is not interference, this is a message." The room froze. For decades, humanity had searched for signs of life. Signals came and went, but most were false alarms, pulsars, cosmic dust, random noise. This one was different. It carried rhythm. It carried intent. The signal repeated, broken and weak, as though traveling across impossible distances. Computers worked to decode it, symbols flashing faster than human eyes could follow. Then, after long hours, the first words appeared on the screen. "Help us," the technician gasped. "That's English." "No," the chief whispered. "It's translation. The system cracked the code." More words followed, scattered between static and broken sounds. War, extinction, enemy. The silence in the room became heavier than before. Every scientist felt the same chill. Someone out there, far away, was crying for help. Someone not human. The news spread quickly. Within hours, leaders of the world gathered in a secret chamber. The president of one nation leaned forward. "We cannot ignore this. If someone is calling for help, it means they exist. It means we are not alone." A general slammed his fist on the table. "Or it means a trap. If they are advanced enough to send signals across space, they are advanced enough to deceive us. They could be luring us into war." The debate grew fierce. Some wanted to answer the call, to prove that humanity was capable of compassion. Others wanted to remain silent, to protect Earth from danger. The room filled with voices rising, colliding, almost shouting. An old diplomat raised her hand. Her voice was calm but strong. "If it is real, and we do nothing, then we let an entire people die. Is fear going to define us, or will courage define us?" The room fell quiet again. Even the general lowered his eyes. Meanwhile, outside the halls of power, ordinary people felt the weight of mystery. Rumors leaked through the press. News anchors whispered about the alien SOS. Families sat by their televisions, children asking questions their parents could not answer. Are they friendly? Will they come here? Are we safe? In the dark corners of the internet, theories spread like wildfire. Some said the aliens were peaceful scholars. Others swore they were predators searching for their next prey. Every hour, tension grew. Every minute, the signal repeated. Help us. War. Extinction. Back at the listening station, the signal suddenly changed. The pulsing grew faster, sharper, as if whoever was sending it had noticed Earth's attention. "They know we hear them," the chief scientist whispered. "They're waiting." The technicians swallowed hard. What if they're dying right now? For the first time, the chief did not have an answer. The leaders voted. After days of fear, arguments, and silence, humanity made its choice. The president stood before the world's cameras, his face pale, but his voice steady. "Tonight we confirm the impossible. We are not alone. We have received a signal from a distant people, a cry for help. Many of you fear this is a trick. Many of you fear what answering could bring. But humanity was not born to turn away from those in need. We will answer." The world erupted in reaction. Cheers, protests, panic, hope. Every emotion filled the streets. Some prayed to God, some prepared for war, others looked at the stars with wonder, dreaming of faces they had never seen. In the shadows of one military hangar, engineers worked day and night. Ships older than their pilots were pulled from storage, their engines rebuilt for journeys beyond Earth's reach. Soldiers trained in silence, their hands tightening around weapons they had never fired in space. "Why us?" one young pilot asked his commander as they walked past rows of gleaming ships. The commander gave a tired smile. "Because we're the only chance they have, or the only fools brave enough to try." As preparations began, the signal kept calling, now mixed with faint sounds, explosions, screams, and then long stretches of silence. Every time the sound returned, it was weaker, as if the voice on the other side was fading into darkness. One night, the chief scientist listened alone in his office. The message repeated, "Help us, extinction, enemy." Then came something new. The voice, cracked and broken, whispered one final word before the static swallowed it. Humanity. The scientist felt his blood turn cold. Whoever they were, they knew Earth's name. They had not sent a random cry into the void. They had called for us. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the blinking signal on the screen. "Dear God," he whispered, "what have we just stepped into?" Outside, the stars burned silently, hiding answers humanity was not ready for. But one truth had already taken root. The universe was no longer empty, and the cry for help was only the beginning. The decision had been made. Humanity would answer the cry for help, but answering was one thing, reaching across the stars was another. In a vast underground facility, preparations began. Engineers hammered, welded, and tested. Machines that had never been pushed so far. Soldiers drilled in silence, their faces tense. Scientists studied the alien signal again and again, hoping to understand who was calling them and what danger waited at the end of the call. In the control room, the chief scientist sat with his hands clasped, his eyes fixed on the glowing monitor. The message still played in loops, weaker every day. "Help us." What? Extinction. One young technician finally spoke. "Sir, what if we are too late?" The chief did not answer. He only adjusted his glasses and stared harder at the signal. Meanwhile, leaders of the world gathered once more, connected by screens across oceans. The president's voice was steady, but the weight of the choice pressed down on him. "We cannot send everyone," he said. "We must choose carefully. The fleet will be small, but it must carry the best of us. Pilots, soldiers, engineers, scientists. This mission is not only about helping them, it is about protecting Earth if this enemy comes here." A general leaned forward, his uniform covered in medals. "And if this is a trap?" The diplomat who had spoken before answered firmly. "Then better we face it far from Earth, not on our own doorstep." The argument ended there. Weeks turned into months. Ships were rebuilt, fitted with experimental drives that had never been tested beyond the moon. Every engine carried the hope of reaching another star. Every weapon carried the fear of facing a new enemy. Inside the training halls, young pilots whispered to one another. "Do you think they're like us?" one asked, adjusting his helmet. His friend shrugged. "Maybe, or maybe they're monsters. Maybe they breathe fire or drink poison. Who knows?" A silence followed, each of them secretly imagining what waited in the dark. In a quiet corner, a female engineer wiped oil from her hands and said softly, "I don't care what they look like. I just hope we're not walking into our own grave." Her words hung heavy in the air. On launch day, crowds gathered on every continent. Giant screens showed the fleet standing ready, sleek silver ships lined up against the horizon, their engines glowing faintly. Children waved flags, parents held their children tight, old men and women whispered prayers into their hands. The president appeared on the broadcast once again. His face looked older, worn by sleepless nights. "Today, humanity takes a step into the unknown," he said. "We do not know what awaits us, but we know this. Someone out there cried for help, and when a voice calls for mercy, humanity will answer, not with fear, but with courage." Cheers erupted. Some cried. Some stood in silence, unable to shake the fear that this day might be remembered not as a step forward, but as the beginning of disaster. The fleet lifted into the sky, engines roaring like thunder. Flames trailed behind as ships cut through. clouds and into the cold silence of space. Billions watched as humanity's first war fleet disappeared into the stars. Inside the flagship, tension filled the air. The commander, a stern woman with sharp eyes, walked among her crew. "Stay sharp," she said. "This is not a rescue mission alone. This is survival. Do not forget that." One pilot whispered to another, "She doesn't sound like we're saving anyone. She sounds like we're already at war." The journey began. Days passed. Space was endless, silent and cruel. The fleet jumped through dark corridors of faster-than-light travel, each leap more dangerous than the last. Strange storms bent light itself, pulling ships close to destruction. At one point, the crew picked up fragments of new transmissions, shrieks, bursts of static, and then a voice so faint it was almost lost. "Enemy. Many. Shadows." The commander clenched her fists. "They're still alive. Keep going." But not everyone shared her certainty. In the mess hall, whispers spread. What if it's a trap? What if the enemy already destroyed them, and this is only bait? One soldier slammed his fist on the table. "Trap or not, we can't turn back now. We made our choice." Still, unease grew heavier each day. One night, while the fleet floated in silent drift, the chief scientist sat alone in his cabin. The signal was open on his monitor again. He leaned closer, listening carefully. The words were nearly gone, swallowed by distance and time. But then, something different. Through the static, a strange sound whispered, not the voice of the victims, not the cry of the desperate. It was deeper, colder, almost like laughter. He froze, his heart racing. "No, this can't be." The sound faded, leaving only the old words behind. "Help us. War. Extinction." The scientist sat in the dark, trembling. Was the enemy listening too? Had they always known the humans were coming? He did not tell. The commander? Not yet. The crew already carried too much fear. The next day the fleet made its final jump. Engines screamed as space bent around them. The stars shifted. And then silence. On the screens before them, a new world appeared. It was broken. Cities lay in ruins. The planet's surface glowed with scars of fire. Smoke curled into the thin atmosphere, hiding the sun. Gasps filled the ship. One pilot whispered, "Dear God, what happened here?" The commander's eyes narrowed. "This is what war looks like." Before anyone could speak again, alarms screamed. Dozens of red blips filled the radar. They were not signals of distress. They were warships, massive, dark, and closing fast. The technician shouted, "Incoming fleet, they're already here." The commander stood tall, her voice steady but grim. "Then humanity's test begins now." The screens lit up with the enemy's arrival, and for the first time, humanity saw the true shape of the danger that waited in the stars. The enemy fleet hung in the blackness of space like shadows with teeth. Their ships were vast, covered in jagged armor, glowing faintly. With red light, the human fleet had only just arrived, and already the battle lines were drawn. Inside the flagship, alarms wailed. Crew members shouted across the control room, hands moving quickly over glowing panels. "Enemy ships detected. Range. Closing fast." The commander stood at the center, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Hold position. Do not fire unless I give the order." "But commander," one officer stammered, "they're surrounding us." "Then we'll see if they want to talk," she replied. A thick silence followed. Everyone knew it was unlikely. The alien distress call had spoken of war and extinction. Yet the humans still hoped even now that these approaching ships were not the enemy. The chief scientist hurried to the commander's side, holding a tablet. His voice shook. "I don't think this is a mistake. These ships, they match the energy pattern we detected in the background of the SOS signal. It means the survivors were fleeing from them." The commander's jaw tightened. "So it's them, the executioners." A low crackle filled the ship's speakers. The communication team looked up in alarm. "They're sending us something," a technician whispered. The sound grew louder, strange, guttural noises mixed with static. Then, as if a cruel trick, a single word came through in perfect English. "Leave," gasps filled the room. One pilot cursed under his breath. The commander leaned forward. "This is the human fleet. We received a distress call. We will not leave until we speak to the survivors." The speakers went silent. Then came the sound again, this time laughter, cold and harsh like metal scraping against stone. The crew shivered. The technician turned pale. They understand us." "Of course they do," the chief scientist said grimly. "They knew our name before we arrived." The enemy fleet began to move, slow but certain, like predators circling prey. The commander's hands clenched behind her back. "All ships," she said calmly, "prepare for evasive maneuvers." Engines roared to life, the human fleet scattering into formation. The void lit with flashes of blue as thrusters burned against the dark. Then, without warning, the first shot was fired. A beam of crimson light cut through the blackness, narrowly missing one of the smaller ships. The crew inside screamed as the hull rattled, alarms flashing red. "They're attacking!" shouted an officer. The commander's voice was steady but cold. "Return fire!" The battle began. Missiles launched, beams of light sliced across the void, and explosions burned against the stars. Human ships darted and weaved, fighting desperately against the larger, more brutal enemy vessels. In the chaos, the young pilot whispered to himself inside his cockpit, "This isn't rescue. This is suicide." Another voice crackled in his earpiece. It was the commander. "Stay alive, that's an order." The pilot gritted his teeth, pushing his ship through a violent roll as enemy fire streaked past. Meanwhile, deep inside the flagship, the chief scientist stared at his monitor. Among the storm of signals, he caught something strange, a weaker transmission buried under the noise of battle. He adjusted the filters, his heart racing. "Help us!" He froze. The survivors were still alive. They were sending again, faint but clear. He ran to the commander. "They're on the planet, the survivors. The signal is coming from underground." The commander glanced at him, eyes sharp. "Can you locate them?" "Yes, but the enemy fleet is blocking direct descent. Then we fight our way through." The ship shook violently as another blast struck nearby. Sparks rained from the ceiling, the air filled with smoke. "Shields failing," an officer cried. The commander slammed her fist against the console. "All ships, cover the flagship. We're going in." The fleet moved together, forcing a path through the enemy blockade. Explosions flared as human ships sacrificed themselves, holding off enemy fire to protect the flagship's descent. Through the windows, the broken planet grew larger. Its surface was scorched and black, dotted with ruins that once held cities. Craters glowed faintly with the memory of bombs. The young pilot, his voice shaking, whispered, "Is this what waits for Earth if we fail?" The commander's voice cut across the comms. "Stay focused. Humanity's future is decided here." The flagship broke through the atmosphere, fire streaking across its hull. The ship roared as it descended, engines straining. Enemy fighters. He followed, diving after them like vultures. Inside, the scientist's screen blinked. "I have them. The survivors are deep beneath the surface. Some kind of bunker system." "Coordinates?" the commander barked. "Locked!" The ship swerved, low, cutting across shattered towers and burning fields. Enemy fire rained from above, but the humans pressed on, desperate to reach the signal. Then, without warning, the ground split open. A massive enemy cannon rose from the ruins, glowing with deadly energy. "Impact incoming!" the technician screamed. The commander shouted, "Brace!" A beam of searing light shot toward them. The ship lurched, alarms screamed, panels exploded in showers of sparks. The crew was thrown to the floor, smoke filling the cabin, but when the light faded, the ship still held, barely. The engineer coughed through the smoke. "We're alive, But not for long. One more hit like that, and we're gone. The commander pulled herself to her feet, blood on her brow. Her voice was steady, fierce. Then we get to those survivors before it's too late. The chief scientist leaned close, his voice low, almost trembling. Commander, what if we're too late already? What if they're not survivors at all? But Bait? The commander's eyes hardened. She did not answer. Outside, the ruined world burned. Enemy ships closed in, and the bunker signal grew stronger. Humanity had come to save strangers, but now it was clear they had walked straight into the jaws of a war that was far from over. And in the silence between the screams of battle, the signal whispered again, so faint it almost seemed like a ghost. Humanity. The flagship cut through the choking smoke of the ruined world, its engines burning bright as enemy fire rained from the skies. The ground below was black and broken, littered with skeletons of cities that once stood proud. Towers leaned like gravestones. Craters glowed with fire. Inside, the commander gripped the rail beside her chair, blood running down her temple. Take us lower. Find that bunker. The chief scientist pointed to his screen, his voice shaking. Coordinates locked. I can hear them. The survivors. They're still calling. The pilots swerved the ship through a canyon of shattered buildings, debris scraping the hull. Enemy fighters screamed past, blasting from above. Alarms filled the cabin. We can't take much more of this, shouted an engineer, sparks flying around her. We don't stop, the commander barked. If we fall, they die. Humanity does. Not turn back. The ship dived, rolling through enemy fire until the bunker appeared ahead. It was hidden beneath the ruins of a vast city, its entrance shielded by collapsed stone and steel. The scientist's voice cracked with relief. That's it. That's where the signal comes from. The ship landed hard, its landing gear crunching against cracked stone. Soldiers rushed to the armory, locking weapons into place. The commander pulled a rifle from the rack, her jaw tight. Teams Alpha and Bravo with me. The rest, hold the ship. If the enemy breaks through, buy us time. The hatch opened. Heat and dust swept inside, choking the air. The soldiers moved out, their boots crunching on ash and rubble. The world outside was worse than anything they had imagined. Blackened bones lay scattered across the streets, vehicles rusted in place, half melted from blasts. The sky glowed a sickly red from fires burning endlessly on the horizon. One young soldier whispered, "This place, it's a grave." The commander's eyes stayed forward. Graves mean someone lived here once, and someone still does. Keep moving. They pushed forward, weapons raised until they reached the bunker door. It was half buried under rubble, its steel frame dented and burned. The scientist hurried to the console beside it, brushing away ash. His fingers danced across the alien symbols. "I think I can open it," he said. "Do it fast," the commander ordered. A low rumble shook the ground. Enemy fighters were circling above. Time was running out. The console sparked and the bunker door groaned. Slowly, it slid open. A wave of stale air rolled out, heavy with dust and fear. Inside, dim lights flickered. Figures emerged from the shadows, thin, pale, their bodies marked with scars. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dark, wide with terror and hope. The humans froze. These were the survivors. One of them stepped forward, his voice broken but desperate. "You answered." The commander lowered her weapon slightly. "We heard your call. We came." The alien trembled, looking at her with something between awe and exhaustion. "We thought no one would. We are the last." The scientist stepped closer, his voice soft. "How many of you remain?" The alien lowered his head. "Not enough. Not for a people. Only for memory." Before anyone could speak again, the ground shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. A soldier shouted, "They found us!" The commander turned sharply. "Get them inside the ship! Now!" Panic spread through the bunker. Survivors stumbled forward, clutching children, carrying the wounded. The human soldiers guided them quickly, helping them climb over rubble. Suddenly, one alien grabbed the commander's arm. His eyes burned with urgency. "You must take it," she frowned. "Take what?" The alien pointed deeper into the bunker. "The weapon, our only hope. It was built for war, but only you can use it." The commander hesitated. "Why us?" The alien's voice trembled. "Because we made it wrong. It rejects us. It needs something we do not have. But you are different. Your kind carries fire we cannot." Another blast rocked the ground. Enemy fighters screamed overhead, unleashing more firepower. The flagship outside returned fire, but the sky lit red with battle. The commander looked at her soldiers. "Alpha Team, get the survivors to the ship. Bravo Team, with me." They followed the alien deeper into the bunker. The halls were cracked and broken, walls lined with strange machines glowing faintly in the dark. At the end, inside a chamber of stone and steel, stood a massive device. It was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. A black sphere floated above a pedestal, glowing faintly with blue light. Strange patterns moved across its surface. Alive. Like fire under glass, the alien spoke with reverence and fear. "This was meant to save us. Instead it became a curse. It drains us. It rejects our hands, but maybe it will accept yours." The scientist stepped forward, his face pale. "Commander, if this is real, it could change everything. A weapon, beyond anything we know." The commander stared at the sphere, her heart pounding. "Or it could kill us the moment we touch it." Outside, the roar of battle grew louder. Soldiers' voices crackled through the comms. "We can't hold them. Enemy forces closing in." The alien fell to his knees, his voice breaking. "Please, if you do not take it, there is no tomorrow. Not for us, not for you." The commander stepped closer. The sphere pulsed brighter, as if sensing her presence. A low hum filled the chamber. The scientist whispered, "It's reacting to you." Her hand hovered just above its surface. She hesitated, her breath sharp in her chest. The alien begged again, his voice a whisper now. "Only you." The commander's fingers touched the sphere. A shockwave of light erupted through the chamber, blasting dust and rubble aside. The walls trembled, and the weapon's glow grew brighter, filling the entire bunker with blinding blue fire. Soldiers shielded their eyes. The alien gasped. The commander stood frozen, her body lit by the sphere's glow, her face twisted in awe and terror. Outside, the battle halted for a moment. Even the enemy ships paused, their sensors struck by the sudden surge of energy from the bunker below. When the light finally dimmed, the commander opened her eyes. The weapon floated silently before her, no longer resisting. It was hers now. She whispered into the comms, her voice steady and cold. "We have it." The scientist's face was pale, his voice trembling. "Commander, do you realize what this means?" She looked at the glowing sphere, then at the terrified survivors around. "It means," she said slowly, "that humanity just changed the war." The bunker trembled beneath the roars of battle above. Outside, human ships fought desperately against the alien warships, beams of red and blue lighting the black sky. Inside, the commander stood before the glowing sphere, the alien weapon humming softly, alive with energy. "We need to move," the scientist said urgently. "They're breaking through our outer defenses. If we stay here too long, everyone dies." The commander's eyes were fixed on the weapon. "Not yet. This is our chance. If we can use this, we can turn the battle around." One soldier spoke up, tense. "Commander, the enemy is closing fast. They've spotted the survivors. We can't hold them for long." "I know," she replied, her voice calm but firm. "Alpha Team, get the survivors into defensive positions around the bunker. We'll use the weapon to buy time." The survivors hesitated, fear in their wide eyes. One of the older aliens asked, "You really can fight them?" The commander nodded. "We've come this far. We won't fail now." Outside, the sky was chaos. The enemy fleet's fighters dove toward the human ships, tearing through shields with precision. Explosions rocked the flagship as soldiers shouted, "Over the comms! Shields are down 50%, one pilot yelled. "Keep firing!" The commander's voice cut through. "Don't let them break our line!" Inside the bunker, the commander touched the weapon. It pulsed at her hand, reacting to her presence. A wave of energy rippled through the walls, shaking the ground. Sparks flew from the consoles as the power surged. The scientist gasped. It's amplifying the defensive fields outside." Suddenly, beams of blue energy shot from the bunker, cutting through the battlefield above. Alien ships exploded in showers of fire. The humans cheered, but the commander did not smile. "Not done yet," she muttered. A pilot's voice came through the comms, strained and desperate. "Enemy flagship approaching. They're bigger than anything we've seen." The commander's eyes narrowed. "Then we hit them next." The weapon's hum grew louder, filling the bunker with a powerful vibration. Soldiers and aliens alike shielded their eyes as energy rippled outward, forming a glowing dome above the ruined city. The enemy ships faltered, their fire hitting an invisible barrier that crackled and sparkled with energy. The young pilot whispered to himself, awed. It's like magic." The commander spoke to her team, calm and decisive. "Form a line. When I give the signal, fire everything you have. We end this now." Moments later, the bunker shook violently. Enemy fighters broke through the first dome of energy, firing at the survivors. A soldier shouted, "They're getting in! We can't hold them!" The commander's fingers pressed firmly against the sphere. Energy surged outward in a blinding pulse. Alien ships screamed as if alive, twisting and breaking apart under the power. The human fleet above joined the attack, their weapons amplified by the wave of energy from below. The scientist shouted over the noise, exhilarated and terrified. "It's working! The weapon is synchronizing with our systems!" One young soldier, gripping his rifle, stared wide-eyed at the glowing dome. "I never thought I'd see anything like this. Humanity might actually survive this." The commander's focus did not waver. "Keep pushing! Don't give them a chance to regroup." The enemy flagship loomed closer, massive and dark. Its cannons fired volleys of energy that rocked the bunker. Shaking walls and throwing debris, the commander gritted her teeth. "Now!" she yelled. The weapon responded, a massive surge of blue light shooting upward, piercing the flagship's hull. Sparks and fire erupted across its surface as it twisted. In agony, the human fleet concentrated their fire on the crippled vessel, and slowly, piece by piece, the flagship broke apart. Inside the bunker, the survivors gasped, their voices trembling with relief. One alien whispered, It is over." Commander did not answer immediately. She scanned the horizon, wary. The enemy fleet had been reduced, but not destroyed. Smaller ships regrouped, retreating toward the edge of the planet's atmosphere. A soldier spoke, voice tight. "Commander, what do we do now? They're still out there." The commander stepped back from the weapon, letting its glow dim. "We survive. Today we fought for them. Tomorrow, we'll be ready for the next wave." The scientist's face was pale, sweat dripping down his brow. "Commander, do you understand what we just unleashed? This weapon, it could change everything. Not just this battle, not just this planet." She looked at the glowing sphere, her eyes cold but determined. "I understand. And if it falls into the wrong hands, it could destroy everything. That's why we control it. That's why humanity controls it." Outside, the survivors slowly emerged from the bunker, their eyes scanning the sky. Some of them whispered thanks. Others simply stared in awe at the destruction humanity had wrought to protect them. A young soldier walked toward the commander, his voice quiet. You saved them, we saved them, but at what cost?" She looked up at the smoking battlefield. Fires still burned across the ruined cities. Ships drifted lifeless in the sky. "The cost is always high," she said, "but courage makes it worth it." The scientist stepped beside her. "Commander, there's one more signal, weak, almost fading, but it's from the survivors. They're thanking us, but they're also warning. Something bigger is coming." The commander clenched her fists. "Then we prepare. We survive today so we can fight tomorrow. Humanity does not bow. Humanity does not run. We answer the call, and we fight." Above them, the enemy fleet had fallen back, leaving behind the smoking ruins of their forces. The bunker glowed faintly, the alien weapon pulsing softly in response to the human's presence. For the first time that day, the commander allowed herself to breathe. Around her, humans and aliens alike shared a fleeting moment of relief. But even as they celebrated, far beyond the ruined skies, a faint pulse echoed across the stars, a whisper of war yet to come. The commander looked up at the sky, her jaw tight. "This battle is won," she said, voice steady, "but the war has only begun." The battlefield was quiet now, but the silence was heavier than any roar of war. Smoke rose from shattered cities, and the air smelled of burnt metal and ash. Human and alien survivors alike moved cautiously, their faces pale and eyes wide from the horrors they had witnessed. The commander stood at the edge of the bunker, the alien weapon pulsing softly beside her. She had seen ships destroyed, friends lost, and cities burned, yet she had never felt fear as sharply as now, knowing the enemy had not vanished, only retreated. The scientist approached, voice trembling. "Commander, the readings are strange. The weapon, it's still active. More than that, I think it's responding to something." "What do you mean?" the commander asked. He pointed to the holographic map. "There's a faint signal coming from deep space. It's similar to the SOS we received, but stronger, more urgent. And it's directed at Earth." A chill ran down the commander's spine. "So the fight isn't over." "No," the scientist whispered. "It's only beginning." Meanwhile, the survivors began gathering in a rough circle around the humans. They spoke in low tones, their alien voices trembling. One of them stepped forward, his eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "You have saved us," he said, his words deliberate. "But the enemy you fought is only a fragment. There are others, larger forces, watching, waiting. The galaxy is not quiet. You have made an impression. They know of you now." The commander's gaze hardened. "Then we prepare. Humanity will not hide." The young pilot, still gripping his weapon, stepped beside her. "Commander, do we have a chance against whatever comes next?" She looked at him, eyes steely. "We have fire, we have courage, and we have each other. That is more than enough to survive." At that moment, a faint shimmer appeared above the ruins. The air crackled with energy, and the alien weapon emitted a pulse stronger than before. The scientist's voice rose in alarm. "Commander, that signal, it's being transmitted from the weapon itself. Someone or something is reaching out." The commander stepped forward, placing her hand lightly on the sphere. Its glow intensified, almost as if it recognized her. "Then we answer," she said. Suddenly, a massive shadow appeared in the sky. A ship unlike any they had seen descended, slowly, massive and dark, covered with markings that seemed to shift and crawl across its surface. Its presence alone made the ground tremble. The survivors gasped. It is coming for us," one whispered. The commander's voice was calm, steady but laced with warning. "Everyone back to the ships. Prepare for immediate launch." As the humans and aliens scrambled, the massive ship unleashed a pulse of energy. The ground shook, debris flying into the air as buildings collapsed around them. Soldiers fell. Clinging desperately to the wreckage, the commander turned to the scientist. "Can the weapon stop it?" He shook his head, fear etched in his face. "Not alone, but if we coordinate with the fleet above, maybe." Through the comms, the pilot's voice came strained but determined. "Commander, All ships are ready. We can hit it together." She nodded, placing both hands on the alien weapon. Its pulse grew stronger, brighter, almost painful to look at. Energy surged outward, forming a shield that enveloped the bunker and the gathered survivors. "Now!" she shouted. The fleet above joined the assault, firing in unison as the weapon amplified their attacks. The massive ship wavered, its hull cracking under the combined force. Explosions rocked the air, and fragments of its armor fell like rain. The commander's heart pounded. "Push it! Don't let it recover!" Suddenly the ship released a wave of energy. The bunker shook violently, throwing humans and aliens alike to the floor. The scientist shouted, "It's resisting! It knows what we're doing!" The commander gritted her teeth, refusing to move. "Then we do not stop. Humanity does not stop," the weapon responded, its glow turning brilliant white. A beam shot upward, striking the alien ship at its core. For a moment, everything froze. The wind, the smoke, the chaos. It was silent. Then, with a roar that shook the atmosphere, the ship exploded, fragments scattering across the sky. Silence fell again, heavier this time, but not empty. The survivors stepped forward cautiously, eyes wide. The commander lowered her hands, exhausted but alive. The pilot approached, his voice trembling. "We did it." The commander looked at the ruins, at the survivors, at the fleet above, battered but intact. "For now, yes. But the galaxy knows we are here, and whatever comes next, we will face it." The scientist approached her, whispering. Awe and fear mingled in his voice. "Commander, that weapon, it answered to you, to humanity. And like anything in the universe, we can defend Earth, maybe even the galaxy, if we use it wisely." She looked at him, then at the glowing sphere. "We must be ready, not just to survive, but to lead. Humanity answers the call, and we do not turn away." A faint signal blinked on the horizon. The survivors watched it, uncertain whether it was friend or foe. The commander stepped forward, voice clear and firm. "Prepare yourselves. This is only the beginning, and we are ready." The camera of the story would have faded across the ruined cities, the exhausted survivors, and the glowing sphere, leaving one undeniable truth. Humanity had answered the SOS, had fought against impossible odds, and had survived. But beyond the stars, the universe waited, silent, watching and ready to test them again. And somewhere, far beyond the reach of human eyes, another signal pulsed across the galaxy. Humanity. We are waiting.